don't know. Now that I have a close-up shot, I can show you.
Yeah, I think that's where the original glue was.
Oh, hey, Quinn.
Howdy.
Hello?
Quinn is near.
Of course, Quinn is
Can
always
you guys see
invited
me?
if you come out as well. Oh, hey, Quinn.
Hey, what's
What's
up?
up?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, he can see you. I can't see anything. I'm in the guest chair. I'm not allowed any screens.
Oh, lame. You must feel powerless.
I do. Victimized even.
I get my usual screen time notification summary on Sundays on my Apple iPhone.
Okay.
And like the days when I go out, it's like 10-15% compared to my usual amount of screen time compared to other days. Like I'm out here for many hours and not on Twitter.
Right.
So it's different.
Yeah, my screen time reports have gotten really like concerning during COVID hours. Like it's like an average of like 8.5 hours most weeks. It's pretty bad. But I do fall asleep to stuff on YouTube as well. So I don't know.
I think my screen time probably averages about 35 hours a day.
What?
That's
Because I have 3 tablets that I'm using, and I'll have them all awake and have Discord over here and a YouTube playing over here and whatever. So
that's more time in a day. It's cool.
And whatever I'm working on, you know, all of them all set up doing something. You know, whether
you guys
it might even just monitoring a text room or something.
Did you guys get
my... Go ahead.
Did you guys get my SE request on the live chat text?
Was there SE request?
Oh, about what was it?
So I think Dali has like an interesting view on music copyright laws and what they should be. We started an SE session before at Runyon Canyon, but we got interrupted and never got to finish. And I thought it might be interesting for Reid to SE Dali on that.
Or
sure.
I don't remember I don't think I watched that, so feel free to continue.
I can recap if you'd like.
I was hoping to be an onlooker. But if you want, I'll do the SE, Reid.
Oh, then yes, Reid. My claim is the copyright system is broken, especially in the case of music.
Okay. Copyright system is broken, especially in the case of music.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the copyright system?
Copyright is where people are able to claim intellectual property on an arrangement of notes or other musical expression. I want to make a separation between an actual recording and, say, sheet music or music where I could play the same thing, but I'm performing it myself. I see those in 2 separate categories.
A performance or a recording?
Yeah, a performance recording is one thing, and the actual music that would have to be re-performed by another musician, I see that as a separate. I see my main issue is I have a huge amount of music that's been shoved into my head culturally over the last how many ever years, and I am absolutely prohibited from performing it, even though it's in my head and it's in your head and we both recognize it.
You would be in violation of copyright if you tried to perform it?
Yeah, if I tried to report, I mean, if I did anything but an improv right now and I'm streaming on YouTube, and I would.
And play covers, is that in violation of copyright?
Yes and no. What they have done is in Europe, you'd actually would pay a copyright fee for the performance or playback of music. Here, we have this thing like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You can play everything you want to on the radio, and then a few days a year, they say everything you play you have to pay like a penny for. So they make sure that on radio here we have the absolute minimum of copyright paid, but just enough so that they can establish their right to do so. Because they see the advantage of having their music played on the radio as helping to market their music. Okay, so radio stations essentially don't have to pay except for a few days out of the year, and then it's a piddling amount. It's more like paperwork.
Okay, and if I want to make a YouTube video with a copyright song, I'll get, copyright strikes, and some of that, like all of the revenue from that video would have to go to whoever holds the copyright.
Whoever grabbed that, somebody drove by one of our live streams, 4 or 5 hour long live stream, 3.5 or whatever it was, and for 10 seconds they could recognize what song was playing out of somebody's car window, and they grabbed the entire everything for that video and said, "Oh no, any money you would ever make from this will go to this person for those few seconds of music."
Yeah, and when we were playing music at the Rose Bowl from my iPad, Twitch made those sections silent in the playback.
Okay.
In the stream replay, which is an interesting compromise.
Yeah.
So stuff like this is a problem for you?
It's, as a musician, it's a very, very big problem, because now I would have to be very, very careful. I'm not sure that I could improv well enough not to reproduce somebody's music.
Oh, you're worried about making your own stuff, but it being too close to something else that's copywritten?
Yeah, I could sing you an arpeggio, and it's probably something in somebody's copyrighted music somewhere. I could sing the scales, and I might get a copyright strike. It's just ridiculous. And how, as a musician, am I supposed to perform, even without intending to copyright? I can't know all the music that there is to know that I'm actually giving you something actually new. I mean, I don't think creativity works that way, especially when I have 12 notes on a scale.
Okay. So if you made a new piece of music, performed it, and wanted to put it on like a streaming service like Spotify, how would you be notified that it's copywritten? I wonder.
Somebody would DMCA me, or somebody would copyright grab, or somebody would copyright strike. There's automated systems that recognize music, sometimes incorrectly, and there's just no benefit. It's all downside for me.
Yeah, if we got rid of copyright entirely,
okay,
what would be the repercussions there? Benefits or bad things?
A lot of well-established musicians would lose their fortunes. A lot of record companies would lose their thing.
Epistemology is knowledge.
Epistemology is study of how we come to knowledge. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I love philosophy.
Would you like to be? We would love to
Want to do an interview.
Ways awareness about the current war and genocide as well in Armenia. You guys can talk about that.
Yeah. Well, how about you talk about that to us? Hang on. Take my spot.
I gotta do my lap.
Okay.
Okay. When you come,
here for a while.
maybe when you come back. Thank you.
Okay.
I will wait for him to educate me about that.
Yeah, you can.
I don't want to just guess about what's happening in Armenia.
Yeah.
So if copyright were abolished completely, a whole lot of people would lose their fortunes.
Yeah, if you like put out the music to sell, someone could just copy your music and then sell that music as if they made it.
Yeah, and that's not the reform that I would want.
Okay.
I would want the Disney decision that says copyright can last 90 years after the death of the author.
90 years?
90 years after the death of the author is the recent extension, after they extended it 3 or 4 times in my lifetime. And I would like it to go back to something more like a patent level, where 17 or 20 years to exploit it, and then it's public domain.
Okay.
I think that means that I could perform the entire Beatles catalog without paying any money.
Yeah, because it's been more than 20 years since.
Right, and I could charge for my performance recordings, but I couldn't stop anybody else who also wanted to perform the entire Beatles catalog.
Could you sell the original recordings?
I think it's a different category, and I'm not sure where I'd want to put that for the actual recordings. And I think this crosses over in like whether you're sampling something.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of sampling, or they would sample different things from different songs and mix and mash those together into something and almost play records as if they were an instrument.
Yeah.
And that's right on the edge, because, wow, that's a really good example of mashing up. And if you're pulling from enough different sources, it's not plagiarism anymore. Now it's research, right? And I think this current system is very broken.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the original claim was copyright is broken, especially in regards to music.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your confidence about that?
Somewhere between Sigma 2 and 3. It's kind of a definitional claim of mine. If I were to try to say, actually like measure that as an effect in the world, I would say I'm about Sigma 2, that the reforms that I'm talking about would have a net benefit for musicians as a whole, for everybody in the music business as a whole. And obviously there would be a very temporary big loss, because whoever holds the Beatles catalog, suddenly I just took $1 billion away from them.
Yeah, like popular music, that's like perennially popular music is just going to be hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm asking for
older.
essentially every song that was popular when I was young to now be completely in the public domain.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, would anyone like to do an interview? Just not. Okay.
Okay.
So if your reforms were implemented
Mm-hmm.
and positive things happened, I assume your confidence would go up.
Yes.
What would specifically have to happen to go down in your confidence?
If I saw a municipality do this, I don't know if I'm talking at the city or the national level or something, but some enough group that I could tell did this, and in their country, the willingness to get into doing music professionally took a big downward turn.
Okay.
That would indicate to me that I'm incorrect about my math.
If this copyright law is an incentive for people to get into music, if that was lost, then there would be less of an incentive. So that may be a negative effect.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there is a big negative effect for anybody who's staked their fortune in music copyright, and that music would be on the wrong side of my time frame.
Yeah,
I'm really quite annoyed that the estate of probably Quinn can help me with the names here. Pharrell Williams and I'm not remembering the other guy had a song that had a bass line very similar to somebody's music from the past.
Yeah.
Over 30 years old. And the bass line was similar in a way that a musician could tell, but really we're just talking about a funky beat and a very standardized bass line.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost the copyright for a song that was not a copy of the song.
Can you
Basically,
hear me?
that somebody's copywriting an entire genre, and I think that's fencing off the commons, and I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I heard someone. Okay, what?
Please.
Robin
Can you hear
Thicke?
me?
Yeah, Robin Thicke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it was Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams. I think it was compared to like a Marvin Gaye song or something. I think that was what
Marvin Gaye. It's the estate of Marvin Gaye that keeps bringing up these unfortunately successful suits that are keeping modern music from making money, from being profitable. I don't mean in general. I just mean it's just this constant headache.
Gotcha. Okay. I understand.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions, Quinn?
So I'm curious, like Reid earlier asked sort of, you guys were going over the Beatles example, and you're saying like you should be allowed to perform the entire Beatles catalog and even sell the performance. I'm curious, performance might entail that it was like a live show that someone just recorded maybe on their phone or something. Should you be able to like go into a professional recording studio environment and reproduce the Beatles soundtrack or the Beatles discography almost note for note and sell those? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then
in my way of thinking, within 20 years, it's in so many people's heads that musically it's in the public domain, and the only reason they're not doing it is because somebody from the past has said, no, we did it first, and we want all the money from that string of notes.
Yeah. How did it work with copyright law was even happening there? I guess that's why copyright law happened. People were just stealing stuff.
Yeah, I'm going back to like Tin Pan Alley in the 1920s when that really got going. And then basically there was a huge push to essentially try to invent all the music that could be invented, sort of like a real estate grab.
Really? That's a lot.
Oh, yeah, but it's like nothing compared to chess moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? What kind of music? I assume the set of all potential music is bigger than chess moves.
If you are allowed to sue somebody for copying 8 beats, this was the example in the Katy Perry. There was an 8-note arpeggio, it's not arpeggio. It's an 8-note climb down the scale that was all exactly the same, except 2 of the notes were slightly different. It's 8 notes, and they're quarter notes. How many down the scales can you have that are unique? And that's what made a $2.5 million lawsuit.
Okay.
So if you are willing to allow teeny tiny sections of music to be copyrighted like that, then this number is not astronomical anymore.
I see.
How many combinations of 8 notes are there? Well, let's see. I have 12 notes to play with. And so what is it, 8 to the 12th power? That's not even a crazy big number. That's billions.
Okay. To me, that kind of seems like a problem of scale, maybe. Like I think I kind of remember the Katy Perry thing, and it was kind of like some no-name, I think, that was like trying to sue her over this set of notes, and it's just 8 notes,
they won.
you know. But what I'm thinking, like,
just
you copy some
down the scale
album,
and they won
note
$2.5 million. They lost it on appeal.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, to me, that strikes me as fundamentally different than copying someone's album note for note and word for word. Like,
okay,
it's almost the difference between. I don't know if you would agree with such an analogy, but like, the difference between like using a similar vocabulary as another author and rewriting their book or something, you know.
Okay.
do you see those as fundamentally different in regards to how copyright should deal with those two different sorts of examples?
Hello. Anyone interested in an interview?
I want there to be very strong restrictions about trying to copyright the scene affaire. I'm introducing jargon, which is to say the everyday normal things. Like nobody should be able to copyright me playing a scale, right? There should be no. It's so common that nobody can say I was the first one who did it, and it was my creativity that brought this into the world. That kind of thinking.
And I'm curious, like, would you establish that list of common things through maybe like a public domain of music or something? Like in the same way that you can go to like a public domain of images online, there's just like a G scale should be in the public domain of music, say, or you just have to keep entering things.
All music that has been put to pen, all music that's been put down in a tangible media would be in public domain if it was before the year 2000. And therefore, if you sue me for music, all I have to do is find a similar enough version from 1960, and you've got no claim.
This is not really an interesting topic. I can just spend like an hour, write a program to generate all the scales, release them in the public domain, and I've solved the copyright issue for all music.
That has actually been done through computer science. They actually produced all possible melodies and put it on a couple of terabyte drive and sent it to the Library of Congress and said, now really there's you kind of, but apparently that didn't have any teeth.
What?
That's not how capitalism works.
Yeah.
Melodies are restricted by like time as well, right? Like how long you could play a G note for 2 years or something and call that a song potentially.
Yep. Silence, 4 minutes, 10 seconds. I heard that's a song.
Yeah. 4:33.
Yeah, and I see that as essentially already existing in the public imagination. Yeah. Yes, please.
What value informs this view?
This is a liberty and anti-authority, and obviously fairness. It's a pro-fairness thing. Let's see. Is there any other one? I don't think care harm is a thing here.
Why should these values relate to this claim?
Because people's lives and livelihoods are strongly affected by it. Being a small musician afraid of getting hit up on by copyright completely limits expression.
Expression as a means to monetary compensation, or is it just
either one?
Either one.
I think you have a right to try to get monetarily compensated. You might also have just the right to express yourself artistically without compensation. Either one of those, I think, is a right I want people to have.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Well,
yeah. I've got one more question about it.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys went over it, but how does the 20-year rule for music transfer over to other mediums of art?
Yes.
Movie, TV shows.
In my opinion, yes. One of the things we talked about was like, should somebody be allowed to do a scene for scene remake of The Matrix? And my answer is 99. Yep. 21 years.
Could we make a sequel to Jurassic Park? They're now shooting a sequel to Jurassic Park, Jurassic World 2, I think.
Okay.
Now, but the original Jurassic Park was in 93. Could anybody make Jurassic Park movies?
I think so, yeah. In my opinion, yes. No, they're not allowed to trademark them. Trademark is a different question. Trademark something that you're doing actively. Trademark is a representation of who's doing it, as opposed to what's being done.
Interesting.
Right, so you're not allowed to like pretend to be McDonald's, for example, but you should be allowed to make double.
Yes, you should be able to make a double compared to In-N-Out Burger.
Are there Pokemon here? I assume so.
Yes, you should be able to definitely make your own thing. Yeah, the question of trademark versus copyright, I see them as overlapping, but I don't see trademark as an intellectual property thing. I see that as a confusion in the market question. Identification.
Hello, would anyone like to do an interview? Nope.
You have different concerns about the copyright of recorded and printed material?
I think printing is a type of recording. The actual printed material, like for example, if you have a book, I think somebody should be able to take the text of that book and it goes into public domain after 20 years after you do it. But the actual printed copies of the book still, I mean, it really, if every novel goes into the public domain 20 years after it's first published,
so people could write Harry Potter fanfic and actually be
sure,
yeah, okay.
Sure, and as long as they're not misrepresenting themselves. And the thing is, like today, I'd have no trouble at all saying, here's the complete collected works of H.G. Wells. And I don't think I have to pay anybody anything. I think it's old enough that it's even past the 90 year after the death kind of thing. So it's fully in the public domain. I could do the same thing for the collected works of Shakespeare. So why can't I do that for the collected works of any examples? I'm thinking about the guy who made 2001, Stanley Kubrick. Why couldn't I, or some author, Isaac Asimov would be completely in the public domain at this point.
Does this apply to video games and software? Someone asks.
Yep. Especially code. Hell yes.
We are.
Good.
We're on 3 vertical. Quinn is in the middle.
Nice.
Looks really nice.
Oh, and the question, does this apply to video games and software?
Yes, it applies to video games and software. I say especially software. I'm so annoyed that a line of programming language, it's like wanting to copyright math equations. Sometimes there is really one best way to say something, or there might only be 10 practical ways to say a particular arithmetic formula. It would not be okay with me if mathematicians were allowed to copyright formulas and prevent other people using them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for indulging my street epistemology request.
Totally.
Sure.
I'm gonna hop off the video chat here. Feeling awkward.
Okay. Thank you. Ha ha ha.